Hi everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads. Join me in making this Maiden's hair bracelet, which is another name for the ginkgo tree. We're going to be using ginkgo beads and RounDuos, so gather up your materials. If you need any, you can also check out the links below in the description of the video to order from us online. So we're going to be working with 2 needles today, and I have 2 size 10 needles that I've already put on some 0.006 wildfire beading thread in the green color, because I'm going to be using the Jade marbled gold in the RounDuo, which is going to really highlight the ginkgo in that Aztec gold. And then throwing in some 15-0s here, I have the dyed semi-frosted silver lined moss green in the Miyuki brand, and then one of the table cut buttons in the green turquoise Travertine. So because we are using 2 needles and I have about 4 feet of thread, we're going to put on our button first. To do so, I want to take one of my needles, add 3 of my 15-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to take the button face down so that table cut side is going to be down, 1 needle through one hole, and 1 needle through the other hole, and straight out the back. That's going to put a little bit of seed beads right there at the end. And what I want to do now, coming out here, is I'm going to add 3 more of my 15s with both the left and the right needle. They drop down next to the back of the button, hang out there a little bit, and then I'm going to take my right needle and pick up one of the 11-0 seed beads going from right to left, and the same bead, I want to pick up the other needle and go from left to right. Because this bracelet only goes down one way and doesn't come back, I want to reinforce this clasp. So that's why I put the 15-0 that way. I'm going to take the needle in my right hand, go back up through the 3 15s before the button, go through the button, and then as I'm coming through the top of the button, I'm also going through that first 15 that's on the opposite side of the button. From here then, to help reinforce a little bit more, I am going to go ahead in and pull, because I have my tail really long here, and I'm going to go back through the other 2 beads as well. So go ahead there and pull. And you want to make sure that you have the same amount of thread on both sides. So I'm going to go through the other 2 beads, and then also down through the cut button, down through the 3 beads right after the button. And after you come out of that table cut button, you're also going to go into the next 15, which is that one that we did the threads going through in opposite directions. Again, do a little check here, hold up your threads, make sure that they're even. If they're not even on each side, you want to kind of give a little pull so that way you can even it out. From here, then, we're going to basically separate our needles and keep them separated the whole way through the bracelet. So we're going to be zigzagging and going through, needle going right and left, but we're going to begin by separating out the needles with some seed beads. So after this, we are going to put on 2 15-0s on either side of the needle, and that's going to bring us into our starting position. So to start, you can see I set up here a little bit of that ginkgo look, and we're going to take our needle through the first hole of the RounDuo. And the RounDuos have 2 holes. We're going through the first hole right to left, and then the first hole left to right. So our needles are always going to be crossing through those RounDuos. Pull that down next to the button, and that gets your first bead into place. You want to kind of straighten it out a little bit if you need to, and make sure again that it sits nicely and that you have a nice amount of thread on either side. Coming out of that here then, I'm going to add 3 of my 15s, and the needle that's on the right is going to go into that top right hole and out towards the left hand side. Then the needle that's on the left is going to go opposite after doing the exact same thing. So that's going to go right to left. That decorates the outside with just a little bit of that bling in that silver lined seed bead. Picking up 3 more of the 15s. I'm going to go through that RounDuo through that same hole, opposite direction. So we're always going to be going through the RounDuos, going through either hole there. Those seed beads will kind of decorate the side. And then the needle that is on the left, we are going to grab 1 15-0 Needle on the right, grab one 15-0, and then we're gonna go through our first Ginko bead on each side. So the Ginkgos, we are actually going to be going so that they're pointing and facing inward. To do so, we want to take the Ginko bead with the right needle and go through the bottom hole if the middle is facing, or the point is facing towards the left. That's going to bring us then to the outside of that Ginko. Then Ginko on the left-hand side, we're going to have that point pointing towards the middle, and we're going to go out towards the left. That's going to put those first two Ginkgos in place right next to my RounDuo there on the side. To step up, I want you to add some 15-0s. And when I say step up, it's going to be going from one hole of the bead to the other hole. We're adding 5 15s, and we're going from one hole of the bead to the other hole, which is going to reverse the thread and stick those seed beads on the exterior of the Ginko. And decorate them a little bit. Here on the left-hand side, everything we do on the left, we're going to mirror, or everything we do on the right, rather, we're going to mirror with the left. And we are going to go through that top hole of the Ginko as well. Coming out the middle then, here's where we're going to add our next RounDuo. So the pattern is going to repeat now from what we did initially, where we added in our RounDuo, separating out my needles here. I've got one 15-0 that's going on the right needle, one 15-0 that's going to go on the left needle. Once you have those on, grab a RounDuo, one needle going through the first hole right to left, and the other going left to right. Make sure when you're doing this, you are not going through that 15-0 seed bead at all. That's just going to hang out and kind of create a nice space so you don't see any extra thread showing for the 15. You can see that pulls the Ginko right in there. Then on the exterior of that RounDuo, we're going to spice it up with a little bit of shine. 3 15s go on. Needle goes from the first hole, stepping up to the second hole. And those 3 seed beads are just going to kind of hang out in the middle there. On the opposite side, doing the same thing. And you probably get the pattern by now. It's just a repeat of it. 3 seed beads go on, stepping up on the left side, going through the opposite way. Again, most important, when you're going through, you want to make sure that your needle and thread are not going through any of the 15s from the opposite side. That's the hardest thing kind of to keep track of. Give a nice little pull and get that RounDuo to sit in between there nicely. Put on your next set of Ginkgos by adding a 15 onto your needle. Pick up your Ginko that's going to be on the right, go through so that that point is facing inward. Add your 5 15s. Step up from the bottom hole to the top hole of the Ginko. And there you go, you got your next one in. As you come out of the Ginko then, you're going to repeat that same RounDuo look with the seed bead on each side, then the RounDuo, adding 3 on the outside, crisscrossing through the RounDuo again, and adding 2 15s before you add your next Ginko leaf. So just to show the Ginko bracelet on as I'm continuing kind of to add, I wanted to show how it's nice and flowy. And of course I picked the green beads for this Maiden's Hair Ginko bracelet. So that way it looked a little bit like a Ginko tree. If you do want them, I put it on so you can see that they kind of sit rippled and can move back and forth. But as you're wearing them, they're going to stay down. If you want to, you could also come back and kind of do a little addition, making it a little bit thicker, adding in another row of the RounDuos and catching it to make it a little bit wider. So that's a challenge for some of you that like to do revisions on the bracelet and like to make them a little bit different. I love when people do that, take what I've taught them, what I've done tutorials on, and kind of make it their own. When you are finished with your bracelet and you already have the clasp on, so you know and you can hold it up exactly where you want to, I'm coming out of my last RounDuo and I'm going to add onto my needle and thread 3 of my 15s on both the right and the left needle. After those 3 15s get added, and I always use this time to kind of clean up my bead mat and cleaned up and put away all of my bigger beads, and now I'm just with my seed beads. Add another 15-0, and this is going to be the 15-0 as we mimic the other side that we cross through. So one needle goes from right to left and the other from left to right. Give a nice little tight pull, and that's gonna get that kind of V right over top of that last RounDuo bead. From here, I'm going to pick up about 33 or so of my 15-0 seed beads. I want them to go right around my table cup button, but I don't want the loop too big that it's going to fall off. This is also the occurrence if you make a bracelet way too big. Even if the loop size is a good size for your button, if you make your bracelet too big, that's sometimes how you lose the bracelet. Even if the toggle bar is associated with the toggle in a good size, or the loop for the button is the good size, if your bracelet is more than like an inch long, sometimes that can just kind of wiggle itself out and come undone. So I'm going in here, and you can see I'm not actually counting the amount. I'm just going for a feel as far as the loop size. So I'm just cleaning up that bead mat, adding all these beads onto my needle. Little speed beading there, and then I'll make my loop here. When I'm done making my loop, I'm gonna take the needle and thread and go back through that 15-0 from the opposite side, going through now from the left side to the right side to have my loop complete. The needle that was on the opposite side now, I'm gonna go in and reinforce this loop. Just like we did again on the other side where we went back through the cup button. Anytime you're at a clasp section, or you're adding even a wire guard in a clasp, you wanna make sure to always have at least 2 threads. I usually prefer 3 thread passes going through my beads or the clasp right there at the end. That's because the most tension on your bracelet is going to be where you put it on and off. So that way you wanna reinforce that area. Coming through then that 15, that is that kind of link bead there. I'm gonna give a nice tight pull, get rid of any extra thread that's showing. One needle is gonna stay and kind of hang out there for a second. The other needle is gonna come down through the 3 seed beads after the RounDuo. On the right-hand side here, I'm taking down first. And then I'm going to go through my last hole of my last RounDuo bead. And then I'm gonna let that kind of hang out over there. The needle that's on the left-hand side is going to go down through those 3 beads as well. And there it's going to stop. The reason it's gonna stop there is because I have 2 needles, so it's nice and easy. Right over left, left over right, tying off the thread end. And because I'm using green beads and green thread, you're not going to see that knot at all. And it matches almost identically to that moss bead in the 15-0. So again, I do a series of right over left, left over right. Take your thread zap, your cord cutter, and burn down your thread end. I just replaced my battery, which is always a great reward when you do that. Go into those thread ends then and burn them down flush right against your project. And there you have your Maiden hair Ginko bracelet. And again, you can really change this up. Use a number of different things in the middle. This is a simple 2 needle back and forth. You could even use a 1-hole bead. It's gonna make the Ginko sit a little bit closer, so you'll probably have to do some adjustment in the seed bead, but it gives you a nice look and a nice introduction to that fun new Ginko bead. Thanks so much for watching this simple Maiden's Hair Ginko bracelet. Remember, you can do a variety of different beads in the middle. Round trios would work great, and you don't need to put any 15s on the sides. If you need any of the materials, remember, below the video, near that little bell subscribe, as well as the thumbs up like button, which you can hit those 2 if you want, are the list of materials to purchase from us online at PotomacBeads.com. Remember also that make this bracelet your own, use it as a tutorial and an introduction to this great new bead. If you want to, again, you can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You get regular updates when we come out with new products, new informative videos, new tutorials, and even when we go live. As always, thanks for watching and have fun beading.